Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a literal pop culture phenomenon today. We're talking about Pingu, that wonderfully mischievous little Swiss penguin whose universal charm has somehow captured the imaginations of generations. Whether you grew up watching his icy adventures on a bulky television set back in the 90s, or you just know him from the endless stream of memes on your social media feeds today, Pingu is absolutely everywhere.
But honestly, it really makes you stop and wonder, right? How exactly did a clay animation character created in the 1980s, who, by the way, speaks absolutely no recognizable human language, manage to maintain such massive, enduring cultural relevance across the globe? It's like this giant puzzle of art, communication, and just sheer internet staying power.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the timing for this explainer couldn't be better. We recently got the amazing news that Mattel is officially teaming up with stop-motion animation powerhouse Aardman to co-develop a brand new Pingu series. As Josh Silverman from Mattel noted, partnering with Aardman's top-tier creative team was an absolute must to bring this beloved character back to the ice.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll hit the Aardman reboot. Then the magic of Penguinese, mastering replacement animation, some banned episodes and controversies, and finally, Pingu's global internet phenomenon.
Let's start with Section 1, the Aardman reboot, a perfect stop-motion match.
To understand why this matters right now, we kind of have to look at the business behind the Penguin. Mattel actually acquired the rights to Pingu back in 2011 when they bought Hit Entertainment. And now, they're bringing him back to television, co-developing a new 3D stop-motion series with Aardman. Sarah Cox and Alan Thorpe are at the helm over at Aardman, and their whole goal is to create fresh, snow-filled stories that keep that quirky irreverence the original was famous for, which honestly is exactly why Aardman being involved is so incredibly exciting.
Moving right along to Section 2. The magic of Penguinese, the universal language. Now, what's really interesting here is the actual theatrical science behind Pingu's voice. It wasn't just random noise, you know? Penguinese relies on something called Gramalot. It's this centuries-old theatrical trick that mimics the rhythm and intonation of language using absolute gibberish. Commedia dell'arte used it, clowns in France and Italy used it. It's a classic. And because it relies entirely on physical expression and tone instead of specific words, the audience always guesses exactly what it means. It completely transcends geographic and linguistic barriers. Boom! Universally understood.
But how they actually executed this language changed dramatically over the years. For the first 4 seasons, a famous Italian clown and voice actor named Carlo Bonomi voiced literally all the characters, completely unscripted. He used this language of noises originally meant as a parody of the Milanese dialect. Wild, right? But then, when HIT Entertainment bought the rights in 2001, London-based physical theater actors David Sant and Marcello Magni took over. And their process was totally exhaustive. Animators would actually script the episodes in English first, film them, and then Sant had to translate that English script into Penguinese while watching the footage. They literally had to invent consistent words, like the word for toy became something like telebelly and drink became chilcholani.
Which brings us to Section 3, mastering replacement animation, behind the resin puppets.
So beyond the voice, the physical movement of these characters was just a massive undertaking. When the British team took over, they traveled to Switzerland and found the original puppets practically falling apart. Animator Steve Cox actually called them zombie penguins. So they had to make molds and recast them all out of resin. But here's the kicker. They didn't just pose a single clay figure over and over. They used what's called replacement animation. When Pingu took a step, they didn't just bend a clay leg. They physically removed the stationary puppet, replaced it with an entirely newly sculpted puppet mid-motion, captured the frame, and repeated the whole shebang. Just imagine the sheer labor involved. They had hundreds of these resin puppets doing everything from stretching up super tall to squashing completely flat.
And tracing this visual journey across the decades is just incredible. Created back in the 1980s by Swiss-German Ottmar Gutmann, the whole property was acquired by Hit in 2001, which moved production out of Switzerland. Then, jumped to 2017 and the franchise took this massive stylistic detour with Pingu in the City, a Japanese TV series by Polygon Pictures that actually used computer-generated graphics instead of physical puppets. And now, full circle to 2024, the Aardman partnership is promising to bring Pingu right back to his tactile 3D stop-motion roots.
Let's head into Section 4, banned episodes and controversies, because Pingu has always been a little naughty by nature.
It wasn't all just smooth sailing and happy snowscapes, you know? Despite looking super cute, the original show never shied away from raw, unfiltered childhood experiences, which actually led to some pretty surprising regional bans. Take Pingu's Dream. It featured this giant walrus that was deemed so terrifying it was unofficially banned from broadcast in places like the UK. Or Little Accidents, which dealt with toilet humor and messy potties, it faced bans for its realistic depiction of urination, making the BBC actually ask for a less messy version. And in Pingu Quarrels with His Mother, there's a scene where his mom physically slaps his face. That bit was edited out or just pulled entirely in several markets.
So the crucial point here is that this wasn't just done for shock value. Animator Steve Cox explained it beautifully. He said he would deliberately strip away all adult notions of consequences and just have Pingu do things without thinking. Charging in, getting in trouble, trying to hide a broken thing, or blaming his sister. There was zero patronizing moral at the end, no grown-up voiceover telling kids what to think. It was just unfiltered, impulsive childhood behavior. And honestly, that authentic mischief is exactly why kids connected with him so deeply.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, a global internet phenomenon and Pingu's viral afterlife.
Because even during those long gaps when new stop-motion episodes weren't being produced, Pingu did not fade into TV history. Check out this staggering number, 7.69 million. That is the number of subscribers on the official Pingu YouTube channel right now. The character absolutely conquered social media, finding this massive, highly engaged global audience years and years after his original run.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of his digital footprint. I mean, the classic clip, Pinga is Born, has racked up 46 million views. 46 million! Pinga Goes Fishing is sitting at 24 million, and a Best of Season 1 compilation has 23 million. This isn't just some fuzzy nostalgic memory, it is active, current, massive engagement.
A huge chunk of this digital dominance comes down to how easily Pingu translates into modern internet culture. His iconic "Newt Newt" catchphrase basically evolved into a global meme all on its own. Reaction videos, comedy edits, TikTok trends. Pingu became a literal staple of internet humor. This relentless online visibility captured both longtime fans and entirely new audiences who weren't even around for the original broadcasts. And frankly, this massive viral footprint is exactly what proved to Mattel that Pingu was perfectly primed and ready for a high-profile comeback.
Which brings us right back to where we started our explainer today. Aardman's chief creative director, Sarah Cox, summed it up perfectly. She said, Aardman and Pingu are just a natural and enticing combination. They share this deep love for the charm of stop-frame animation, along with that quirky irreverence. Aardman is actively committing to the character-driven storytelling that made Pingu an absolute international icon to begin with.
So what does this all mean for the future of our favorite mischievous penguin? As we look forward to fresh, snow-filled stories from the South Pole, I'll leave you with this. Will Aardman's famous stop-motion magic be able to perfectly recapture that rebellious, unapologetic, and language-transcending charm of the 1980s original? With their incredible track record, the odds are definitely looking good. But I guess only time, and maybe a few loud newt-newts, will tell. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for Pingu's grand return.